All but a few games have been played for Week 5, and what a week it was. The Steelers are 4-0, the Falcons became the second team to fire their head coach, and the Chiefs of all teams went down. We're going to discuss some of the biggest takeaways from Week 5 and what they mean for this team and how it will impact their future. As always, the takeaways are in no order of importance, they are just what we are taking away as NFL fans from Week 5. There is one thing though I would like to address before we get started, and it's how wrong I was on the Raiders. Credit to them for going into Arrowhead and beating the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs, as in the Week 5 predictions video, I said the only question is how much the Chiefs will win by, so credit to the Raiders for proving me and a lot of other people wrong. And quickly, before I record this, I want to say I record these videos Sunday night, and as I was typing this, Dak went down with an awful injury, and from one human being to another, I genuinely wish him the best in his recovery. He's a great guy, a great teammate, and we saw the type of reaction that he received, and everyone knew the severity of the situation right away. That was truly awful, and without a doubt, injury is the worst part of the game. We all love football, I know everybody gets hurt at one point or another, but that was truly awful to see, and I wish Dak the best in his recovery. Anyways, before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. The first takeaway from Week 5 is the football team is horrendous, no matter who is starting for them. Dwayne Haskins, as we know, was benched this week, and while he was benched, there wasn't a huge turnaround in the next game, as Washington lost by 20 points to the Rams. The Rams are a great football team, and unless Jared Goff or Aaron Donald get injured, will go to the playoffs and make some noise while they are there. The goals, to me at least, for Washington on Sunday, was to be competitive and to see what Kyle Allen had in store, and if possibly, he is the man of the future. While he, and I would imagine, has the rest of the year to prove whether he is or is not that guy, it wasn't a good showing for him on Sunday before he got injured. Credit, and I can't say this enough, but credit to Alex Smith for coming back and just being active, as I'm assuming all of us, or a lot of us, saw what he had to go through just to get here, and him being active on the roster was an accomplishment in itself. He should win the Comeback Player of the Year award for that alone, but as great of a story as that is, Smith is 36 years old and probably is not the long-term next 4 to 5 year starter for the football team. And I do want to say I'm definitely not hating on Alex Smith, more of a let's just be realistic about this situation type thing. The team itself is horrendous, and even if they had a Lamar Jackson, Russ, or Mahomes quarterback, I don't think this would all of a sudden be a 12 or 13 win team, as they are horrendous all around. They averaged just 2.7 yards per carry on Sunday, and Kyle Allen and Alex Smith threw for 111 yards combined in a rough day for Washington. While Dwayne Haskins very well may a draft bust, or simply not the guy in Washington, the team is horrendous no matter who starts for them. Ideally, I'd like to see Haskins go to a team, and by that I mean traded to a team, like Indy, where he could potentially sit and learn for a year behind Phillip for a year, or even Pittsburgh. The football team is awful and won't be contenders with nearly anyone at quarterback. The next takeaway from Week 5 is the Pittsburgh Steelers are legitimate AFC contenders. They are 4-0 now with a 9-point win over the Eagles, and it was a true breakout game for the rookie Chase Claypool. He had 4 touchdowns, and while I'm sure that's all the headlines anybody has been seeing from this game, it is deservedly so. Their next 2 games are home against Cleveland and at Tennessee, and while the Browns are 4-1, I don't think there's any team the Steelers can't beat in Heinz Field. Not to say they will for sure, but no win is easy in Pittsburgh for an opponent. Ben Roethlisberger threw for nearly 240 yards and 3 touchdowns Sunday, and coming off of the Week 4 bye, it was huge for them to get this win. The Steelers-Ravens rivalry never faded by any means, but it will seem renewed when these teams meet in a few weeks due to both being near the top of the AFC. What makes the Steelers so problematic offensively is they can attack with nearly any weapon, and it's just who they choose to attack the defense with for that particular week. Sunday, as we know, it was Chase Claypool, but in any given week, it can be Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, or someone out of the backfield. They are so deep offensively that it makes it extremely difficult for teams defensively to choose one to key in on, as Juju Smith-Schuster is a player who has had over 100 catches and 1,400 yards in a season before, and he had 4 catches for 28 yards on Sunday in a game where the Steelers put up 38 points. The defense through 4 games isn't as good as it was last year, and we knew going into this year it wouldn't be, as the Steelers forced nearly 40 turnovers in 2019, and over the course of time, that's simply not sustainable. They will get the defense under control though, and as of now, they are legitimate AFC contenders. And the next takeaway is from the Raiders game. As I said at the beginning of the video, I was completely wrong, and credit to the Raiders for proving me wrong. They played a great game offensively, and it is certainly an accomplishment anytime an opponent goes into Arrowhead and beats the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid Chiefs. The Raiders have 2 impressive wins on their resume now, with beating the Saints on Monday night back in Week 2, and of course Sunday going into Kansas City in their stadium. Their only 2 losses have been at New England and home against Buffalo, and neither of those teams are bad by any stretch of the imagination. A great win for them heading into the bye, and their next 3 games are home against Tampa, at Cleveland, and at the Chargers, and while they just beat the Chiefs, I'm definitely not overreacting and saying they run the AFC West or anything like that, because until they win anything of note, and not just a regular season Week 5 game, well, they simply don't run the AFC West. This is certainly a stepping stone for them though, as Josh Jacobs had 2 touchdowns, they intercepted Patrick Mahomes, and Henry Ruggs had over 100 yards receiving in his first of hopefully many 100-yard games. The Raiders executed everything they had in mind to perfection, with maybe the exception of giving up 32 points, but 40 on the road should be enough to win any game. Great for the Raiders, and they could prove to be the thorn in many teams' sides in 2020. This win for them makes them teams take 100 times more serious, as they did something the Ravens couldn't accomplish, and everyone looks at the Ravens with the utmost respect. Teams weren't taking the Raiders lightly before by any means, but this certainly makes teams focus on them that much more. And the next takeaway is it's about time the Falcons moved on from Dan Quinn. Not only has Dan been a disappointment as a coach this year, but Matt Ryan, who is usually good to, at minimum, stat pad as people would say, hasn't been too good either. Some of that does have to deal with Julio Jones not being fully healthy, and of course the defense being atrocious, but the bottom line is, it is almost a full season overdue for him to be canned, or fired, or whatever term you'd like to use. They started 1-7 in 2019, and credit to them for how they finished the year. I don't think Quinn should have been kept around as long as he was, and with an 0-5 start to the year, there was nothing that could save him at this point. He was brought in several years ago to be a defensive-minded head coach, and in 2020 so far, his former defense, now you could say, has given up 138 points in 5 games, which equates to nearly 28 per contest. Sunday was the lowest they gave up to date, with it being 23, and even if the Falcons had won against the Panthers on Sunday, he may have extended his job security for a week or 2 at maximum. There may be bigger problems in Atlanta though, as Matt Ryan hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in nearly 3 full games, and the team was truly never in the game against the Packers on Monday night. Their next 3 games are at the Vikings, home against the Lions, and at the Panthers, and any game is winnable in the NFL, don't get me wrong, but with how bad they've been at times, who knows with this team. I would like to think they could win a combination of 2 of these 3 games, but who knows how they'll respond to the firing of Quinn. It was publicly known they loved Dan Quinn as a coach, and whoever the interim coach is, they will probably love just as much given he was hired by Quinn, or the opposite, they won't respond. This doesn't change anything though, as they're 0-5 and aren't going to do anything in the year of 2020 with Quinn, or with, as I record this, an unnamed interim coach. I wouldn't say the Falcons being done is a huge takeaway, as they started out 0-4, but anytime a head coach is fired just 5 games into a year, it is monumental news and certainly deserved to be discussed for today's video. And now we discuss what was the worst part of Sunday, and it was Dak going down and how this impacts their team. First and foremost, the injury itself was absolutely awful, as reports came out that it was a compound fracture of the right ankle, and for those that don't know what that means the ankle itself was sticking out of Dak's body, similar to how Kevin Ware's leg was of Louisville in the NCAA March Madness tournament several years ago. I'm not going to show footage of this, as once was enough, and from one human to another, I genuinely do wish Dak the best in his road to recovery, which started Sunday night with surgery following the game. This is one of many examples why fans of teams should not get mad about players holding out to get their dollar, and Dak, who knows what his football future is right now. Right now, the only thing that matters is getting him healthy as a functional member of society, let alone back on the football field because of how gruesome of an injury this was. Now, as for the Cowboys season, they will go on with Andy Dalton as their starter, and the problem for the Cowboys isn't their quarterback going down. I mean, it is, but at the same time, it isn't. Their defense is absolutely atrocious, and from a football standpoint with Dak going down, it doesn't much matter if their defense can't stop anybody. The Giants put up 34 points, and while 7 of those did come from a pick six, the Cowboys are in trouble. They have 2 wins on the year, with those wins coming against the Falcons in a game where they blew a huge lead that they had no business winning, and the Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley-less Giants. So without their franchise quarterback, I don't think they're going to do anything of note playoff success-wise. And I will say this about the Cowboys. Even with Andy Dalton, they very well may win the division. The winner of the NFC East could have 7 or 8 wins, and while they may win the division, they're going to be at maximum a divisional round exit. Their defense is abysmal, and a healthy Dak Prescott is undoubtedly better than Andy Dalton, and if he could only get 2 wins in 5 starts, with one of them being a fluke like we said with Atlanta, then Andy won't all of a sudden rattle off a 10-game winning streak and have them in the playoffs as a number 1 seed. It's not a reality, and neither is a Cowboys Super Bowl title in 2020. And if you're a Cowboys fan and offended by that and want to say, yeah, well, you're a Vikings fan, I realize that, and I realize we're probably not winning a title either. Anyways, the loss of Dak is obviously a huge setback, but the biggest problem from a football standpoint is their defense can't stop a soul. And the last takeaway, shout out to the Miami Dolphins for a 4-score win in San Francisco. And on that bright note, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you ever have a video suggestion, please let me know in the comments. I truly appreciate all the support. Let me know what you think of the takeaways. Please like the video, it helps a ton. I truly appreciate all the support, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.